Hello, class, and welcome to Computer Graphics 236 Advanced Photoshop. My name is Eric Greenberg. I'm going to be your professor for this course. And unfortunately, I realized that I don't actually have any photos of myself or a camera readily available, so I'm just going to do a quick sketch of about what I look like while I talk. So I wanted to say a little bit about me and why I think that I'm a pretty good pick for this particular class, and I hope you'll stick with me as we work out the rough edges and bits and pieces that tend to happen with the first semester of an online class. So, as I said, my name's Eric, and I graduated from Modesto Junior College with a few degrees way back in the day. I had a degree in art and computer science, and while I was getting that, I thought, hey, you know what would be fantastic is a degree in computer graphics. And so I went ahead and studied that as well under Professors Hagen and Sinclair and Hartman. And I had a really good time. I really enjoyed it. I learned a lot about the systems and how they continue. And in fact, after I graduated from Modesto Junior College, for quite a while, I did freelance work for doing graphics. I do covers for different things. I do posters. I would do book layouts. I do advertisements, that kind of stuff. And I discovered I really hated working for myself. It was quite unpleasant having to work out contracts with different people, and I kind of wanted a boss, weirdly enough. So I went back to school and I got my a degree. I continued my studies in computer science, actually. Got my bachelor's degree, and I worked in the meanwhile a little bit of freelance work, but mostly I did tech help for a support desk, and then later moved into desktop support. And when I graduated, I moved on into programming field. I now work as a full stack developer over at Stanislaus State University, which is not too far from here. It's kind of in our backyard. And over there, I do web application development. I work under my lead and my boss, and I produce mostly interactive web forms that are smart enough to autofill themselves. But while I was working there, Professor Hagen retired a few years back, and the job for computer science instructor started up for computer graphics instructor started up. And while I had my degree in computer science, I thought, hey, you know what? I'll throw in my hat in the ring. And sure enough, I got the position. I've been teaching the advanced Photoshop class for quite a while. I feel as though my background in both art and computer science makes me a pretty interesting choice as an instructor. Allows me to give you guys and gals an idea of what's going on behind the scenes, as well as what's happening in it. Here's a slimmer, younger version of me. I think that looks great. So I like to ramble on a bit about things, as you can tell already, but I also like to get into the meat of projects and processes and kind of explain how things go on. So in this course, I'm going to do my best to do a couple of things for you. I want to delve into Photoshop so that you get a really good understanding of some of the more powerful tools that tend to get overlooked during people's education, but then are almost required immediately in the field, so that you can hit the ground running when you get out of this course. And if you choose to either pursue further education in computer graphics, or if you choose to go into business doing design work or layouts or art or any of those fun things that computer graphics can open up. I also want to try to provide some pieces that you can use in a portfolio. I think that it's important while taking a course to actually build something up to show for it, so that you can really have something later. So if a job opportunity opens up at the end of the semester, or even a little bit later into it, and they say, hey, do you have any work that you can show us? You can go, why, as a matter of fact, I do have some projects that I think would be of interest to you, and you'll be able to just kind of show that stuff off. So hopefully that will also help you. From time to time, I delve into mathematics behind things and programming behind things, but if you'd like, you can just tune me out when I start babbling about that. I find that stuff absolutely fascinating, and I think it's really, really useful to be able to have a grasp of what's going on, but it's also not really required. So you can kind of just get an idea of what's out there without having to fully start going into, wow, what on earth was he talking about? That's not going to be on any tests. And in fact, I don't particularly like tests. If necessary, I might do one or two during the semester just to make sure you read some stuff, but it won't be anything along the lines of, what key command would you use in order to clear out the preferences, which would actually be Control-Shift-Alt at the time that you open it, or Control-Shift-Option on a Macintosh. You don't usually need to know that off the top of your head, because in this day and age, we have something called Google. But what my test might have is simply, hey, did you read this? Check this box. Do you have access to that? Check that box. But hopefully it won't come to that, and I won't need to bring any of those guys. I think that you'll be able to go through quite nicely. On that note, I should probably mention a little bit about the history of the course itself and where this kind of fits in your life of computer graphics. So essentially, most courses in the college level for computer graphics, for Photoshop specifically, are broken up into 3 or sometimes 5 different pieces. And so you can end up in this situation where you'll do like Photoshop 1, and then you'll do Photoshop 2, and then you'll do Photoshop 3, and then you have a pretty solid idea of what's going on. Back when this course, or the previous course, Introduction to Photoshop, was founded, not a lot of colleges were actually teaching Photoshop at all. And actually, Hagen and Sinclair were teaching Photoshop way back when, and so they just had the one course. And later, they did want to eventually bring it up to 3 courses, but due to a lot of strange happenstances of history, it never quite happened, and so they got up to 2. So what I like to do is try to teach this course not as though it's just a level 2 course, but more of a level 2.5. And don't get afraid when I said that. If you're going, oh no, I barely grasped 1, how am I supposed to have a 2.5? That's not really what I mean. So what I mean is that the projects that I have will throw some concepts at you, but I will build off of them. So you won't have to necessarily master any specific skill immediately as thrown at you, because we'll be revisiting it frequently. For example, in this first week, all we're doing is getting you on Canvas. But you know what we're going to do in Canvas? Everything. We're going to make sure that you can upload your assignments. We're going to make sure that you can actually communicate, post online, all that good stuff. And then in week 2, we're going to build off of masks, and we're going to upload that through Canvas. And then we're going to play around with masks quite a bit. And this is where things get a little bit interesting. Week 1, as you've noticed, doesn't have a whole lot of material to it. You're going to watch a handful of videos. It shouldn't take too terribly long, all things considered. But week 2, I'm a little paranoid that you guys might not remember masks, or you may not have covered them particularly thoroughly. So I'm going to record a massive number of videos broken into many small chunks so that you can reference it all throughout the semester, which means when we hit week 3, and that'll be after just Canvas, and then we get masks, we're going to go into smart objects. And smart objects are an incredibly powerful way of protecting your artwork or prepping things for a larger class. But you know what you tend to use smart objects with is, boom, masks. And so everything will build off of each other as we go up throughout the semester. We're going to have about a project a week as it goes through. Most of your projects are going to be worth about 100 points. And you can do the math off of that. It should be about 1,600 points throughout the whole semester, except the final's worth double. So it'll be 200 points for that. And the first assignment is worth half of that. I'm changing things up this semester as to how we do late work. I'm going to be a little bit more lenient than I would be in an in-person class, simply because I feel as though there are more opportunities for things to get chaotic in an online course. So we'll work through that. If you have any questions, contact me and let me know, either through the forums or through messaging and through email. I'll be happy to answer them as you go, because as you can tell from my personable little drawing, I am a friendly guy and I don't mind talking at all about any of this stuff. I'm here for you guys. The point of me teaching this class is so that you can learn. So if you ever feel as though I've skipped something important or I've gone over something far too long and you need a shorter summary of it, let me know and I'll be happy to work something out so that we can keep going. Other than that, I think that's about the intro. This gives you an idea of about how fast I talk. Do keep in mind, this first week is relatively light. The second week is relatively heavy. It won't be until week 3 that you really get a feel for what the course is going to be like. So if you're a late ad, don't worry too much about that. You'll just have a little bit more to plow through. Week 2 is going to be the heavy one. And if you're panicking because of the amount of work in week 2 that shows up, don't worry too much, because guess what? It's kind of a freak week. Normally, it's going to be not quite that much. There are, I believe, 2 more times during the semester where we're going to have that amount of videos to go through. That will be when we cover blending modes, because I want to go over all the blending modes. And we'll see. I know that one for sure. But depending on where you guys are at, I might cut some of the videos a little bit shorter just because you don't need as much. Or I might make the videos a little bit longer if you ask me to. Either way, we'll get a good feel of this and we'll keep going. So meanwhile, go ahead and check in on that online class, see what's up next, and start watching all those videos. The 2 big ones this week, I have a presentation video I made quite a ways ago. I think it was even on Windows 7. And so it gives you an idea of how old that one is, but it's still pertinent to the course. I'm also going to have you watch an ancient video that used to be on PBS called Colorful Notions, and that will give you an idea of how human beings actually see things. And that's actually going to be important because all this hardware you're sitting in front of to watch and listen to this video was designed to interface with us as human beings. So the engineers that built all this stuff had to have an idea of how we see color. So when we work with the engineers' tools, we have to know what they were aiming for. And so we're going to explore a little bit of that this week. Next week, we're going to delve on into masking, which I feel is often cut a bit short. We have a lot of masking videos, and in all honesty, if you're in a time crunch because you're still juggling your semester, you're probably going to skip quite a few of them. I hope that you won't, but I know that you might. And so if that's the case, don't skip the last few videos. That's where I actually show you how to do the assignment for next week. But that won't be up for a while. In the meanwhile, go ahead and concentrate on that first week assignment. I'd love for you guys to introduce yourselves in the forum so that we can have an opportunity to get to know each other at least as well as we can as semi-anonymous online tags in an online class. All right, y'all have fun, and do let me know if you have any questions. Please check in on what the next step is for your course this week. Welcome aboard.